There was a grocery ad in last Sunday's paper that caught my eye. There it is. It says at the top, "For the love of Dad." Notice? I've got it here. And so when I saw that, I thought, well, of course, this is the quintessential Father's Day grocery ad. The things that will speak to a father's heart and stomach and will draw either Dad or Dad's loved ones coming to shop for Dad in. So what do we have here? We have T-bone steak. Sorry, this is flopping around. And then ground beef, of course, big on Dad's list, right? Great on the grill, it says. Then you have chocolate chunk cookies, peaches or nectarines, blueberries, fresh, and Dole salad blends. So you kind of round out your meal a little bit. You got your beef, lots of beef, dead cow on the grill, a whole one, and then some salad, some blueberries, some fruit, some cookies. And then the next section has what? Greek yogurt, chobani, Stone Ridge Creamery ice cream, which is really very good, Old Dutch potato or tortilla chips, and Old Dutch I think is Minnesota, is it not? And then Classico pasta sauce. So there you have it. Now I don't know why the pasta sauce goes in. I think that's for you, Jerry. That's for the Italiano in a mix. And then the final thing that has to be on that's in the lower left corner. Toilet paper. And I saw that and I thought, now, whose idea was that to put that in there? Was that in the original ad? The ideal Father's Day grocery ad? Did that belong there? Now, you all know, to some degree, how often you're told what you need to get to make yourself a more complete, happier, fulfilled person. You're marketed to all the time, right? So was that toilet paper added to that? Was that part of the list? Or was that somebody coming in to play with that idea, twist that idea of marketing to you something that you really need and fulfill you? Is it the bringing the whole thing down to earth? You have these things that Dad wants and then, well, Dad's going to need this. Speaking truth, yes? I thought that was most interesting. I have a lot more to tell you, but you can't bear it now, Jesus says, according to John, as this long final teaching session in the upper room winds down, and we've been there for ages, right? We've been talking about the farewell discourse in John's Gospel, beginning, I think, in chapter 13 and going through chapter 17. All 17 is a prayer. But Jesus says a lot, and not much is said about the meal. It's just all this other stuff. And so it could be kind of funny. You know, I got more to tell you, but you can't handle it now. And you hear the guy in the back, you know, no kidding, man. He lost me 2 hours ago. I didn't think he would ever stop talking. I don't know what he's saying anymore. And then there's another guy over here, and Jesus hears the snoring, you know, because this is an evening session after a meal, and they've been awake a long time. It's been a busy time. This is a Holy Week, so there's lots going on. I have more to tell you. You can't bear it now. Yeah, it's kind of funny. But it's not really meant to be a historical retelling of the event itself. This is John speaking through Jesus to his late first century community at a time when they are struggling. It's a hard time to be church, and they're sort of church. They're a bunch of Jesus Jews who have been ushered out of the synagogue, various synagogues. They're not welcome anymore. And they're wandering around, and they're losing members because people are thinking, well, I didn't sign on for this. This is not what I expected. And my friends are in the synagogue, so I'm going to recant, and I'm going to go back and rejoin them, because this wasn't what I expected at all, and it's just not panning out. So this may be part of John's way of appealing to the people who are leaning out, thinking about leaving or have left. Don't go now. This Jesus thing is not over by a long shot. There is more to come, more than you can handle right now. But this Jesus that you know of, who is the focus of the energy and the presence of God in this world, who is our point of connection with God, when his Spirit, when the Christ Spirit is released from him into the world, John is theologizing, right? When this is released, it will gather you in. It will make everything complete and gather you in and invite you into this divine dance, the flow of this divine energy that Jesus has expressed and shares with God, that you will be part of that. You'll be brought into that. That's what's going to happen. So don't go away now. Don't quit now. There's more to come. Wait for it, listen for it, watch for it. Stay with your siblings, and maybe you want to invite the neighbors because they're going to want to be in on this too, because it doesn't get bigger or better than this. Now, John doesn't come up with this out of the blue on his own. You listen to that first reading that Chad read from Proverbs. Tom commented as I sat by him as we were getting ready to sing in the choir. I said, that was really cool. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Part of the wisdom literature in the Old Testament, and what goes on in the reading? Wisdom lifts up her voice. She calls out in the busy city, inviting people to gather and listen and pay attention, because she will give insight. She'll give vision and clarity and light, enlightenment, wisdom. The reading then goes on to talk about what wisdom is. Wisdom is this feminine facet or side of God. In Greek, the word is Sophia. And wisdom was there, it says, from before things began. She was God's first creation, and then became the architect with God, the celebrant with God as the creation unfolded, and she is there delighting with God in what God is doing and sharing in it from before it even began. It's an amazing text. Does it remind you of anything at all? Because immediately I'm thinking the beginning of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and everything came into being through this Word. The Word is the source of light, bringing life and light to all humankind. Light, enlightenment, vision, clarity, wisdom. John is intentionally linking Jesus to this primordial wisdom of God, this feminine side of God, and telling people that this wisdom is going to be unleashed on those who hang around and wait for it. It's coming. The spirit that Jesus shares with God will be set free and released, and it will do what, does John say? This is an interesting phrase. It will lead you into all truth. Oh, there it is. You're going to have it all. You're going to see and know and be able to discern it all. You're going to have insight and wisdom beyond anything you can imagine. It's all going to be yours. Now, does it sound like John is maybe selling something, or that I'm selling something through John? Like maybe he's promising something that might be a little too good to be true. Maybe your cynical side says, If this is John's version of the "for the love of dad" grocery ad, with all of those things that you long for, where's the toilet paper? Where's the grounding? Where's the bring you back down to earth? And if you look at the whole story of John, it's the cross, right? That's the grounding, as well as the lifting up. It is that thing that was this tremendous, horrible, awful ending and scandal that over time becomes So much more from the Christian perspective. I was speaking of ads. We're a culture of ads, advertising. Way back in the last century, when some of us were kids, the 50s and 60s, advertisers, companies, businesses were learning how to market to us. And some of you will remember some of these. Wonder Bread, what did Wonder Bread do? Wow! Built strong bodies 12 ways. And it's in the white package with the red, yellow, and blue balloons on it, right? What about Frosted Flakes? Great, yes. And Tony wouldn't lie, right? You had to believe Tony. We didn't have Wonder Bread at our house. I've noted that. And I used to lobby for it because it was more expensive. And I just figured parents didn't want us to build strong bodies 12 ways. They just weren't concerned about that. No, it wasn't that. But I remember that. Why don't we have Wonder Bread? Because it does this wonderful stuff. What about Wheaties, General Mills folks? Breakfast of champions. Exactly. And you gotta, if you want to be a champion, you gotta have Wheaties. Wasn't all that excited about Wheaties. Got kind of soggy pretty fast in the milk. But if you get enough sugar on them, then they become like soggy Frosted Flakes. And okay, then I can go with that. Yeah. And other things, Red Ball Jets. You can run faster, jump higher, and stop on a dime. Well, who didn't want to run faster, jump higher? And I was so concerned about stopping. I wanted to keep going because usually I was being chased, so I wanted to move. All of those things, though, we were being marketed to, sold things that we needed to have to be more fulfilled, more complete, whole people, happier people, better people. And I bought into that as a kid. And I still find myself doing it. Oh, yeah, if only had that. Well, I had, though, a secret ingredient that was going to vastly improve my life, and it was a local product. And some of you will remember this, because I told this story early on. Next to Austin's Grocery in Vernon Center, Minnesota, which was run by our grandparents, there was a little cafe called Harry's Cafe. And Harry, he had about 5 or maybe 6 stools around this counter. It was a little place. And he could stock, but then he had on the counter this big wooden barrel, shiny wooden barrel, that held Harry's own homemade root beer. And it had the frosty mug emblem on the barrel, and I pondered, mouth-watering, the insides, the contents of that barrel again and again when I was in there. And I knew it was special. I knew it was probably extraordinary. I knew that it would change my life because it was expensive. It was 15 cents for a frosty mug. And that's 33% more than any other root beer in town. So I knew this had to be something really fabulous. Because the saying is what? You get what you pay for. At the same time, I was raised to be frugal. So why would I spend 15 cents on something I could get for a dime and use that nickel for something else? Well, this was pre-inflation, folks. You know all about that. But a nickel had purchasing power for a kid then, and 15 cents was a lot of money. But I knew if this was 15-cent root beer that Harry made that sat in that wooden barrel, that it called to me. It was like wisdom raising up its voice, beckoning me to come and imbibe. So secretly I made my plan. I saved my nickels. And on an early Saturday morning in the early summer, I got up. House was pretty quiet. Dad was already gone to deliver mail. and got dressed, had my breakfast, made sure my 3 nickels were in my pocket, and I walked the 3 blocks down to Harry's Cafe. Had to cross Highway 169. I was 6 years old. So I'm by myself, and I have this all figured out. And I'm now going to have a fulfilled life. So I get to Harry's Cafe, and you go up a couple steps, and then there's a door. You open the door, and then there's a couple more steps, and then you're on the landing there, the cafe area, and the little counter, and I go and I climb up on a stool, those stools that spin, and it's sitting right by the barrel. And I put my 3 nickels down on the counter, and I say, I would like a root beer out of the barrel, please. And Harry takes a mug out of the freezer, and he holds it under the spigot of the barrel, and this brown, frothy liquid just fills it and foams over the top, and some of it spills down the side, just like on the barrel, the emblem. It's right there. And I'm almost dizzy with anticipation. And he sets it down in front of me, and I look at it, and I take a sip, and it's amazing. Yes, it is rich and full-bodied and smooth, yet it has that satisfying burn in the back of the throat that you gotta have. Oh, it's amazing. It tastes like truth. It tastes like truth. And so I just sit and savor this mug, this frosty mug of Harry's root beer. And it seems like it takes a long time because it's really filling. It's really, really rich. You don't just toss this down. This is something to kind of reside with for a while. When I'm finally done, I thank Harry for the root beer, and I get down off the stool, and I go outside, and I go next door to Grandpa's grocery store. And I'm going to go in and share my adventure with Grandpa. He's busy. So I go to the back of this narrow, it's like 3 aisles, maybe, or 4. It's very narrow and long. Go way to the back where the little office area is, behind the meat cooler and the table where you package up the meat with the paper and the string, you tie it up. All of that was there. And I go back to the little sink with the mirror on the wall, and I look to see if I look different yet, because I am feeling different. This is changing my life already. I can feel it. There's something, what's going on inside. Oh yeah, it's bubbling. It's waking me up. And I feel suddenly strangely energized. Like I should be out in the world. Like I need to go now because it's calling me out. Wisdom is calling me out into the world. So I make a beeline for the front door, and I barely get out on the front step, and my breakfast makes a sudden reappearance. All over the step and the sidewalk, Cheerios and Harry's root beer. Woo! Grandpa saw me go running past, and so he appears. And he said, "What happened? Are you okay?" And Betty, who works there at the store sometimes, she shows up. She saw me go too and saw what happened, and she's there already with a bucket of water, soapy water, and a broom. Maybe she had the bucket ready, I don't know. But I tell Grandpa what I had just experienced, and he looks at Betty, and they exchange this knowing look that adults give each other. They don't tell the kid what they know, but they know something. I feel extraordinarily good for some reason. I feel light. I feel clear-headed. I feel enlightened. Because now I know that Harry's root beer is not truth in a mug. Or is it? See, this is one of my personal parables, and we all have them, and we revisit them, and we learn from them, hopefully. And in my latest revisit to that story, that event, I wonder if I fill myself with all the things that I want and long for and am told, seduced into wanting that will make me a fuller person, if I fill myself with all of that, will there be any room in me for the truth that I might encounter along the way that offers itself like wisdom on the street for nothing? Maybe I need a Harry's root beer experience every so often to purge myself, empty myself of all the junk I've stuffed in there and bought into, so that there is room so that I might be awakened, enlightened, blessed, enriched in a true way, not a temporary, shallow way. When the Spirit of truth comes, it will lead you into all truth. It's more than you can bear right now, but it will take you there. Now, notice it doesn't say you will own it. It doesn't say you will possess all truth, that it will be yours. It says it will lead you into it. You'll be surrounded by it. You'll be in the midst of it, and it will offer itself to you as you are able to take it in, as you are willing to receive it, as it may be doing even right now, because it's going on all the time. Several years ago, I told my sister Sue about my Harry's root beer experience. It had been sort of my family secret. I hadn't really shared it with family. I had told it to other people. And she laughed, immediately laughed, and she said something like, well, we all knew. She's the firstborn, I'm the lastborn, so there's some time between us. She said, we all knew that it was like the universal antidote. We would pool our money and buy a mug for the next victim, whoever was foolish enough to step up, and then we would wager on how long they could keep it down. And then she said, I didn't even make it off the stool. So Harry's root beer stayed right there with Harry. And the truth comes and offers itself. And the light comes on. And wisdom is given. And we are awakened and blessed and enriched, sometimes not even wanting to be. And the conclusion of it all, well, there isn't one. Because there is always more to come. Thank God. Amen.